What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode. I'm SwipaCam. Welcome back for another episode, y'all. We have an absolutely incredible, one-of-a-time, first-time episode on this channel, y'all. We have the amazing Hall of Fame Coach George Karl. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm good. I got my workout in, and I'm gardening a little bit, feeling like spring's coming. Look like we have a week. We can play some golf this week, so it's a good week for George.
Yeah. So, Coach, I heard you've been playing a lot of golf. So, tell me, how's your golf game been lately?
I'm the same player I've been for about 5 years. I don't hit it very far anymore. I'm a pretty good player. I can, I'll shoot 80. On an easy course, I'll shoot 85. On a hard course, I'll shoot 95.
Okay.
So, I hit some good shots.
Yeah, my dad
I negotiate well on the first tee, though.
I got you. Okay, yeah, I've been playing since I've been about 10 years old. I'm not great at it. I'm definitely not as consistent as I want to be, but I do know the game just a little bit. My dad bought me the Michael Jordan golf clubs when I was a kid, and so I've been kind of using them ever since.
I didn't even know Michael Jordan had golf clubs.
Right, neither did I. So I wasn't super happy about it when they first gave them to me, but they ended up paying off in a big way. So, Coach, you recently just got inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. So first off, I just want to say congratulations on that. That has been a long time coming, especially as folks from Denver. Obviously, you won Coach of the Year in 2012 and 13. You're one of the winningest coaches in NBA history. You coached some of the all-time greats. Can you just even explain your initial reaction to becoming a Hall of Fame coach? Seemingly after we've been waiting for a while, but what's your initial response to that?
I can't deny I was emotionally set back a little bit. I don't know, humbled. I was excited. I was scared. Most of my life, I never thought about it very much. But then when I made the last call, I worried about it more, and I talked to some people about it. And now that it's there, it's a celebration, and I like celebrations. I like, the game of basketball can be very, very stressful, and there's not enough joy unless you win a championship. The celebration comes by winning a championship, but there's a lot of years when you coach your ass off and you do a really good job. And then you have a disappointing ending by losing a playoff series to a great team. And fans can be fanatical for you, and then fans can be fanatical against you.
Right.
And, I've never won a championship. I've been close to the top of the mountain, but I've never gotten to the top of the mountain. And I'm happy that that coaches now can have a chance to get into the Hall of Fame without that ring, without the ring. Right. I think America gets a little goofy on championships and losers of championship games. And just getting to the top of the mountain, you got to do a hell of a job.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy the Hall of Fame recognized that, or the committee did. And I think right now I'm just in a reflective manner. I'm reflecting on my career back to my, all the way back to my CBA days and back to North Carolina and why I got into coaching, and then I'm going to brag a little bit. My coaching tree is pretty good. I got some guys out there that I talk to constantly about coaching, including my son. And my son-in-law, who nobody knows, but he coaches women's basketball, and I talk to him a lot too. So I'm always in the gym. I'm always thinking the game, always trying to figure out what the hell's going on sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think today's playoffs right now, we had 4 teams left.
Right.
That I think are really interesting. Because, I honestly think the 2 best players in the game left playing are Luka and the Brown kid. I mean, the Tatum kid in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always felt if you have the best player, you have somewhat of a slim advantage. And you know, I know everybody loves Golden State and they want Golden State to come back and win it again. I'll be honest with you, I don't trust Golden State. I think they're too small, and I don't think they shoot it. I know that sounds crazy, but I think they take as many bad threes as they make good threes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at times they get a little goofy with the three ball. And don't get me wrong, Boston can get goofy with it. Dallas can get goofy with it. Today's game, we all get a little goofy with the three ball at times.
So on that note, obviously we saw like the Game 7 yesterday with the Dallas Mavericks and the Phoenix Suns, who got all the way to 42-point lead the Mavericks had, and then they ended up winning by 33. Didn't seem like the Suns showed up at all. Like, what was your initial reaction to even seeing that happen? But then for you, like, can you even speak to the job that maybe Coach Jason Kidd has done to help the Mavericks go from where we didn't even know if they were going to make the playoffs to being in the Western Conference Finals?
Well, those people that didn't think Dallas was going to make the playoffs are a little goofy. You know, my feeling right now is, first of all four coaches have done a good job. I mean, you don't want to talk about the coach at Boston. You know, they were under 500 at the 50-game mark. But, you know, I think Spoelstra in his own way might be the best coach in the NBA. And then, you know, you just talk about Jason and I mean, everybody does a good job. I think coaches get highly criticized, but not enough love. When they, you know, because there's going to be three of these teams are going to lose, and they're going to get scrutinized. They're going to be penalized. They're going to be judged, sometimes rightly, sometimes wrongly. But I do think Jason's done a great job, and I'll be honest with you, something happened in Phoenix. I don't care what you tell me. I don't know what happened in that locker room in the last 2 days. I've never seen a team come out that flat.
Wow. And
in a seventh game, I mean, seventh games are the most meaningful games in the history of the game. Even to get to a seventh game is a hell of a challenge. And then to win one, on the road, that is a fantastic feather in your cap.
Right.
And I tip my hat, but I'm just saying something came out this week between the two games. I don't know what happened, if they had a fight in the locker room or bomb went off. Or, you know, now I guess the rumor now is that Chris Paul is hurt. Maybe that's it. Chris Paul has always had that aggressive attitude. Maybe he said something that pissed someone else off. He's not playing much of the game. I'm sure we'll find out a little bit about that in the future.
Yeah, if you saw the report, because, you know, DeAndre Ayton only played 17 minutes last night, but the report was that at some point in time, Coach Monty Williams asked him to come back into the game. Apparently, Ayton said something back to retort, and then from that point on, he sat, I believe, for the rest of the game. But asked about it, Coach Monty Williams said that it's internal in response to, like, what happened. They didn't pay Ayton in the offseason. I know he wants to max. That's been the widely reported information about him, that he wants to max. They're not going to give it to him or haven't given it to him. It seems that he's soured on ownership to some degree because he felt like he deserved it. They went to the finals last year. They wouldn't have got to the finals. Again, they're the number one seed again in the Western Conference because of Ayton, Booker, and CP3 and Mikal Bridges and Jay Crowder and the rest of the team. So it does seem like there's something fractured in that. But the interesting thing is rather that when Chris Paul turned 37 in the middle of the series, he went from having like a pretty decent series to a bad series. I think he averaged basically around 9 points a game for the rest of the series. So his numbers plummeted across the board. Do you feel like maybe that, like, is it age that caught up to him at that point in time? Or the physical beating of having to deal with the Pelicans in the first round and now having to deal with the Mavericks full court pressing for 94 feet?
Well, I thought Jason got after him. I thought that was really a good ploy. I never knew Bullock was that good of a defender, but he was a good defender. And got after him to the point where it was bothering both. I mean, he bothered both guards for Phoenix. Phoenix had trouble ball handling, and the turnover count blew up. And I really thought that was a big part of the strategy that Jason was going to try to wear him out. And remember, Jason played late into his 30s.
Yeah, he did.
And he might know that the body just sometimes can't handle it. But the negative energy of that basketball team, if it was Ayton, if it was Chris Paul was hurt, or if there was something else in the locker room, again, to come out that flat.
Yeah. 27 points in the first half.
And, I think we all knew that Phoenix kind of has a, maybe not a perfect offense. They shoot a lot of jump shots. They don't get enough layups. But their defense was always stellar.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, the Dallas guards just drove them. They just kicked their butt. Doncic, no one could cover him. And, Brunson and the kid from D.C.
Yeah, so Spencer Dinwiddie, right.
Dinwiddie, they were spectacular. I mean, they got, not only did a wild card by them, they got a great game. Brunson gave them 1 or 2, and Dinwiddie gave them 1 or 2.
And then they had Finney Smith as well. Like, they had different people that showed up in different games in that series.
Yeah, Smith has 8 threes in one game, and that's kind of how you win. When you win 4 games, it always comes. Your superstar might get you 2,
right?
Might get you 2.5, but you got to get something else from somebody to win 4.
So that's the thing. Like, so now the information that's kind of come out really over the last year or so, because even last year when Phoenix won, there's always injury luck to finals runs. That's just a part of the way the NBA works. You're not going to have healthy teams all the time. But last year they didn't play against Anthony Davis for basically half of the series. They didn't play obviously against Jamal Murray. Then they didn't play against Kawhi Leonard. So the 2 times they played against relatively healthy squads, meaning all their pieces were there, maybe outside of one person, Tim Hardaway Jr. wasn't there. But they lost 4 straight to the Bucks. And then they lose to the Dallas Mavericks, who don't have elite talent, but everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing. Everybody buys into their role offensively and defensively. They're one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. Everybody's connected. Even Davis Bertans, who doesn't have a defensive resume, he comes in and he's still a plus in the series when you think that the Suns should be able to expose him in the pick and roll. So it just seems like the narrative, at least, is that they haven't been able to beat fully constructed teams that have all their pieces. Do you feel like there's any truth to that at all?
I think that's reaching a little bit. I thought they were a dynamite team this year. They were the most dominating basketball team in the NBA. They were spectacular on the road, which I think is the key to most greatness. I mean, a lot of teams can play well at home, but I mean, I think they won close to 30 road games.
Yeah, they were incredible.
And winning 64 is a lot of wins. So I'm going to give, I'm going to let it play out. I'm sure we're going to find out some of the things that might have happened behind closed doors.
Right.
But I was just disappointed that I was excited about 2-7 games. And we didn't get either one didn't live up to the hype.
Was that shooting variance, Coach? I mean, obviously you know it better than anybody, but I mean, even in the Bucks series, 4 of 33 from 3-pointers. 4 of 33.
Well, I don't know what the magic number is of differential. I just think if you have a differential of 6 threes, I think it's hard to overcome that.
That's 18 points. You're right.
And when you have a difference of 18, that's a difference of 50 points on shots. And it's just impossible. I mean, to be honest with you, I thought Milwaukee did a hell of a job hanging around.
So a lot of people are, and again, we can move into the Nugget stuff and obviously even to your coaching career too. But I think for the sake of the fact that it just happened, a lot of people have negative things to say about Giannis in light of that. Because again, he had 25, 20, and 9. He seemed to run out of gas, it felt like, in that second half. I mean, the game before, he had 44, 20, and 6. So he didn't have Chris Middleton, so didn't have like another shot maker. Drew Holiday shot like 35% from the series. Giannis obviously struggled against a great Boston defense. Like, when stuff like that happens and people are like blaming star players, even if, again, like he didn't play well in the second half, it seemed like the pieces that they needed was that one more piece with Chris Middleton, and they could have won that series. Like, what do you feel about like when superstar players are in situations like that where they seem to be playing very well, but they seem to run out of gas at the end of the series? Do you feel like it was a fatigue thing that maybe led to him not playing well, and then that ultimately what took Boston over them and not having Chris Middleton for the Bucks?
I'm a big believer that championship teams got to have good benches and got to have some depth.
Right.
And I thought Boston definitely had more depth than Milwaukee. And I think the one thing that everybody doesn't understand, I think fans don't understand that a lot of times your roster construction can lose you a series.
Talk about it, Coach.
And, my feeling is Boston adapted. Do we know Grant Williams could shoot the ball that well?
18 threes. He shot 41% in the regular season, but 18 threes from a role player in Game 7?
Again, the roster construction, I thought helped Boston. As where when Wes Matthews became kind of a liability, they had nobody to go to. Right. No one that they could really trust. And so I think Holiday and Portis had a lot of pressure on them to play well.
Mm-hmm.
And Holiday just likes to be a supporting actor.
Right, yeah.
He doesn't want to be the lead actor. Now, you can get him there every once in a while, but he's a hell of a two-way player, a hell of a player. I love him, but he did not lift his game, and neither did Bobby Portis.
Right.
And in the first half, the big guy gave him some good minutes.
Brook Lopez, yeah.
He gave him some good minutes, but he faded.
Mm-hmm.
And so by the fourth quarter, I think just Boston had such a good rhythm, good flow at both ends. And I think Giannis just ran out of gas.
Look,
both mentally and physically.
Right, but Jason Tatum played exceptional the entire series. Jaylen Brown was key those last couple of games to tie back up and to put him over the top. And then you had Grant Williams, who shot 18 threes, I think made 7 of them. And then outside of that, Rashard came off the bench playing well. Marcus Smart was hounding people defensively. And I'm not going to lie to you, Coach, I wasn't expecting this. I didn't realize that he still had it in him. But Al Horford put together some incredible performances over this playoff run.
Well, they got Grant Williams in Game 7. They got Al Horford in Game 2 or 3. I've never seen Al Horford play like that in a long time. And then the game that Marcus Smart, they lost in Milwaukee.
Yep.
When they had the game won. And then Marcus Smart comes back and has a hell of a first half in Game 6, I think. So they pieced it together well, too. But you can't do it with one guy.
Right.
You got to figure out the more guys that come to the party, the better your chances of figuring out how to win a game.
Right.
And kind of Dallas did that against Phoenix. Nobody came to the party in the first 4 games.
Right.
And then the last 3 games, they all came to the party.
So for you, and again, I don't know where you stand on this. I've never heard you even have a public conversation about in terms of best player stuff. I know that Joker, you said that I think you said you believe you should have been the MVP this season, but then obviously you have Giannis, you got your Steph Curry, you got your Luka Doncic. For you, do you think there is right now in the NBA a best player in the NBA? And if so, who would you think kind of takes that mantle? Or do you feel like there's a couple of players that are in the tier of maybe having an argument for best player in the NBA?
I think we're living in a time where it's changing. It's moving from LeBron and Durant maybe Kyrie and Giannis. It's moving a little bit. The kid in Memphis, John, Tatum is definitely on that list. Giannis is still, I think, if I had to start a team tomorrow, I'd probably take Giannis. But I'm going to tell you, the guy that I'm afraid of more than anybody else right now is Luka.
Telling you, man.
I mean,
he don't care. He ain't scared of nobody.
The man, that step back from 30 feet, I have no idea how you defend it. Unless you want to make him drive the ball all the time.
And that's the thing. If he drives the ball, he's physical enough to get to the rim. But if he's such a good passer and playmaker, and he has so much gravity that literally, like, he's gonna find whoever's open, and then it's gonna rotate or it's gonna find it right. I mean, Luka, what he does is so incredible. Because even like his usage rate is crazy. Like he has the ball a lot. But I think what he intrinsically believes, I think, in his teammates, and I think over the course of the series, you saw that he trusted Jalen Brunson, trusted Dinwiddie to do their job. And I think as he gets older, that natural skill set he has, as he begins to rely on his teammates more, he will have an argument to be the best player in the league just because of how he plays the game.
I just think I laugh that we got Jokic and we got Luka. Two guys that play in slow motion.
Right.
Very ordinary athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
Tremendous basketball IQ. And tremendous ability to make other people better.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the best, two of the top 5 players in basketball.
Right.
And then you got Giannis, who's just a dynamite talent. Plays the game the right way, plays harder, and so physical, so long, so good.
So, Coach, now that I have you here, I'm actually really curious. So, the only comps I've ever heard from Giannis from a historical standpoint has been like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but that's because of how he scores inside. And then obviously Shaquille O'Neal. But for you, like, if you had to say in your coaching career, like, who does Giannis most remind you of in terms of his overall play style?
Well, the guy that comes to my mind because his history in the game is similar is Scottie Pippen. Scottie became a pretty damn good offensive player at the end of his career, but he basically was always a defensive player first. But, towards the end, Michael was, he gave games to Scottie and let him go. But that's not real good. That's not a real great comparison. I know this is going to go way back, and I'm not sure. How about Larry Nance?
Yeah, Larry Nance Sr., man. Yeah, great athlete. So
about as long as Giannis. Jumper, not as good offensively as Giannis, but really a solid player, really good winner. Probably not as talented as Giannis, but those are the two guys I'm thinking about right now.
Right. Yeah, and people forget, like, that year that Michael Jordan, one of those years Michael Jordan decided to go play baseball, Scottie put up 19-5-5 and was a top MVP candidate as well and led the team to over 50 wins. So, like, Scottie didn't have a lot of offensive versatility because he was limited in some ways. But, I mean, defensively, there is a very short list of defensive players in their peak that you would actually take over Scottie Pippen for what he was able to do, guarding guards and also guarding bigs as well. So, Scottie, I think, is a really good comparison.
Right. I know about Scottie Pippen. That guy was damn good. I mean, the year we lost him in the finals, it was not because of Michael. Rodman and Pippen had a lot to do with that.
Yeah. So, like, even then, like, now that you're talking about that, since we're talking about your Hall of Fame career a little bit, like, what was it like at that point in time? Obviously, the Sonics were loaded at that point in time. I mean, you all were very, very good. I mean, you were clearly one of the best teams in the league, and defensively one of the best teams of that era in that late 90s especially. What was it like playing in the finals and then having, obviously, Gary Payton and then everybody on your side, but then playing against Michael Jordan and Scottie and them in their heyday? What was that like?
Well, I don't think anybody understands. Playing in the finals is a great, great trip. The league takes over. It's really first class, 100%. And I always I always was amazed at how when you get to that fourth series, to win a championship, you got to win 4 series. When you get to that fourth series, you're so damn tired, mentally and physically. But then you go out and play so hard, and it's just a testimony to the greatness of our league,
right?
The greatness of our players. But playing in that final was special. I mean, I wish I would have gotten back 1 or 2 more times, but I got to the conference finals numerous times. But been to the finals, and Michael had one really good game against us.
Right.
We got down 3-0. We got back to respectability. But back then, today's game is so much more offensive oriented.
Right.
I mean, back then the game was, it was hard to score. As much physicality we had. And I really kind of like the NBA is allowing more physicality now. I think in today's playoffs, I think this year was the most physical basketball I've seen in the last 10 years, maybe 20.
Well, you know what? A lot of people have been complaining about that because Giannis, I think, had 21 offensive foul calls in the Celtics series, or in the playoffs rather. But that's just because, again, he's so physical getting to the basket. Then obviously you got Joel Embiid in the regular season, and then his internal dominance. Jokic was just crazy internally. Ja Morant led players in paint scoring this season, like a 6'2", 170-pound guard led the NBA in point scoring basically while he was playing. So, man, there's just some crazy athletes. The NBA is trying to allow players to play more freely. They try to get rid of some of the gimmick stuff to start the season, and then they let up, and then they let them do it again. So I agree. Everybody was saying that they think this is the most physical year they've had. But I'm actually really curious about this for you, Coach. So you've been watching Nikola Jokic now for a number of years. And obviously you have watched him come from 2015 when he first started playing for the Denver Nuggets. And can you kind of even tell us, like as the audience and people who have watched him from afar, but obviously you have a different perspective as a coach, what have you seen from him from when he started? Like being a rookie, overweight, making first-team All-NBA rookie, to being a back-to-back MVP. Like, what has his growth been like for you as a coach? And then, was this something for you that you even saw in him?
Well, I think 3 or 4 years ago, I saw that he was an all-star, a big-time NBA player. But I would say the year of the bubble,
right?
I thought he and Murray made a step out of being just good players to being star players. And I think Murray is kind of, because of his injuries, have been slowed. But Jokic is amazing. To get the game, to play the game at the pace he plays at, no one can speed him up.
Right.
No one can make him get goofy and crazy. And I think the most growth that he's had is become a leader. He's become a man that can demand his team to play at a higher level. And, over an 82-game season, he gets a little tired of doing that. But I think he's been marvelous. And, I'll be honest with you, the guy could get 40 every night.
Yeah.
If he wanted to be a scorer, he could average between 35 and 40 every night. But he doesn't. He wants to be a supporting actor.
Right.
He wants to help the team win. He wants to make a rookie look good. He wants to make a role player have his best night of his year, of his career. And he cares about players. He cares about his teammates a lot. And I really love that.
Right.
My favorite saying in coaching is, it's a we game. And Nikola Jokic believes it's a we game.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's the thing sometimes that, and we could talk about this too as well, but the Denver Nuggets have never had a player of this ilk. Now, obviously, we had Alex English, who led the decade in scoring. You got your Dan Eisels, and you have players, again, your Mutombos and your Skywalkers and all that. So I remember growing up, like, hearing about these players. And then, obviously, like, I watched the Melo era. Like, I watched you go to the Western Conference Finals and play against Kobe. I mean, they just had an incredible team, right? They were just loaded. Like watching the Spurs and all that. But the Nuggets have never seemingly had a player that was like, because you said, and it wasn't even controversial. Like, I think there's legitimate arguments that could be made that Nikola Jokic, if he continues to play at this pace for the next several seasons, continues this peak he's on, could easily finish as a top 10 all-time player. Right up there with your Hakeem Olajuwons, your Kobe Bryant, your Tim Duncans, whoever you want to put in that tier, he could be there. But the Nuggets have never had a player like that. So for you, do you feel that the front office of the Denver Nuggets currently, which is President Tim Connolly, GM Calvin Booth, and then including Coach Michael Malone, do you feel that they have the resolve to do what it needs to be done to surround him with the pieces that he needs exactly in order to make sure they capitalize on this window by winning a championship or winning multiple championships? Do you feel confident that they can do that right now?
I've been criticizing the front office for 3 years. I've tried to figure out what they've been doing for 3 years because I think they were this good 4 years ago. And then when you get close, you got to go for it.
Right.
Well, guess what? They haven't gone for it yet. Aaron Gordon is the only move they've made that made me feel like they're going for it.
Right.
They always worry about potential, the draft, salary cap, not going over the tax. Well, tell me the team that won a championship by not going over the tax. How long ago was that? 10? Maybe longer?
I mean, even the Golden State Warriors, they made that trade for Iggy. So you're right.
I mean, the whole thing comes down to is if you want to win a championship, you might have to go over the tax, and that should not be a hindrance. But unfortunately, I still think it is. And their roster construction over the last 3 years, especially the last 2 years, they put too many players against each other. They get all these good young players that they say are going to be really good, and they are good, but they're not good. They're not championship good. They're talent good. They're potential good. And those things are for average teams. You got to get into a championship mode. And, Mike Malone's talking about it now. I think they should have been talking about this 3 years ago after they came out of the bubble.
Do you think a part of that? So, I think the timeline kind of got messed up in that. Because I remember, obviously, in the 2017-18 season, they got Paul Millsap. Then the next season, 2018-19, they had a number 2 seed, and they were the number 3 seed going into the bubble. They played against the Clippers. Well, it seems like what happened at that point in time was they went into that next season. They said they want to do continuity. They went into the bubble. They brought basically everybody back. But then they brought 7 new players in, I want to say, right after that bubble ended. They brought 7 new players, Facundo Campazzo, Jermichael Greens, and these other players. And they come into the trade deadline. They make a trade for Aaron Gordon. I'm not going to lie to you, Coach. I have been watching the Denver Nuggets for a long time. And that 09 team you had, I feel like was the best chance that we had to actually win a championship. This is just my perspective. That 2012-13 season before Danilo Gallinari got hurt, y'all were the 3 seed. Y'all had a real opportunity, but then you happened to run into like the greatest shooting backcourt of all time before they ever existed. Coach, by the way, if I can just like complain for a moment. So we played against the Lakers. We ran into Kobe. I was like, all right, man, we ran into Kobe and they 4-2, they won that series. But when we had Gallinari playing like he was, I honestly thought like at that point in time, like this team had enough. You won 57 games. You were coach of the year. I was like, they can make a run. They legit could make a run.
And they had one more shooter. We needed one guy that could make a shot. When Gallinari went down, we went from an average 3-point shooting team to a bad 3-point shooting team, playing the best 3-point shooting team in basketball. And then David Lee got hurt.
Yep.
And David Lee was our escape to covering the 3-ball.
Right.
We're going to let David Lee shoot.
Right.
We're going to cover the 3-ball and let David Lee shoot. David Lee sprains his ankle in the second quarter of game 1. And all of a sudden they have shooters all over the court. And we have no shooter. They were looking at Andre Miller and Corey Brewer.
Right.
And, they were looking at all our shooters like, go ahead, you can't shoot with us.
But the job you did that year with Ty Lawson was I honestly thought when you went to the playoffs and Ty Lawson was playing as good as he was, there were moments where he was going bar for bar with Steph Curry.
Yes.
But
then he sprained his ankle.
Right, he did. That's exactly what happened.
His ankle in Milwaukee, like in 2 games from the end of the season.
So, look, I'm not trying to go down a rabbit hole because I could talk about all that stuff all day. We can definitely do that one day. But so for you, like, I feel like the Nuggets made the trade for Aaron Gordon. Like, they were good. They went to the Clippers' house. They beat the Clippers, and then Jamal goes down. But, Coach, I think the thing that most frustrated me with this process was I don't think, personally, that I think Michael Porter Jr., when healthy, fits with the team. That's just my opinion. I know we have, you have a different approach. I think he needs to grow, obviously. He needs to grow up significantly. Him and Jamal. But when they put people like Facundo Campazzo around the Joker, or even now, like Will Barton, the reason I struggle with that a little bit is because Facu is such a small player that he's not exceptional on offense. He's not like an exceptional defender because he's too small. But then Joker is not a great defender, but we have small guards that are like on the perimeter taking on Steph Curry and Damian Lillard and them. Like for me, I just feel like he does best with length, with defenders and shooters. So it didn't make sense that they were putting other small players around him to try to maybe help with some of the guard work. But I mean, I just think that for Joker, you need more players like Alex Caruso. You need more players like KCP or Josh Hart, people who can defend, who know their roles, will be consistent in that role. But honestly, it just didn't feel like a lot of the players were able to fully identify with those roles, but partially because you didn't have Jamal, you didn't have Michael Porter Jr.
Well, I think Jamal's legit. And my biggest complaint of the roster construction is why don't we have a real point guard?
Yeah.
Why don't we take the responsibility of how the game is handled away from Malone and Jokic and give it to a point guard? In an NBA season, you got about 30 games, and a good point guard can win it just by himself. And I'm not saying we need a star point guard.
Right.
We just need someone that when the game needs a really solid veteran point guard, we could get it. I mean, when we didn't get Holiday, which I thought was the key.
Right.
If Denver would have gotten Holiday, I think we would have been in a championship series. And why? I don't know why we didn't, because I think we had enough stuff to get.
So remember, at the time that they thought Jeremy Grant was staying, and then he ended up wanting to go to Detroit to be the number one option, and also because he wanted to play for. They had Dwayne Casey was the coach, and then they also had a black GM, so he wanted to go play for a black GM, black head coach combo. And then the Milwaukee Bucks, because they were worried about Giannis leaving, they sent 3 first-round picks and 2 swaps. And so at that point in time, the Nuggets didn't seem like they were fully like, wait, we want to give 5 first-round picks and Gary Harris for Drew Holiday. So I think they balked at the idea of giving 5 first-round picks to the Pelicans at the time.
I think you're protecting them a little bit.
I didn't feel like I was. I feel like that was the honest truth.
You know, when you get a piece that says you're going to play close, you win a championship.
Right.
You get, there's a chance you're going to make a mistake.
Right.
But at least you got in the game. Right now, Denver's they haven't even tried to get in the game, in my mind. Where's the veteran leadership? Okay, Millsap was cool.
Right.
Wasn't athletic enough, didn't probably give him enough skill, but his mentality was the right mentality.
Right.
Where's that guy on this year's team?
I mean, honestly, Will Barton's be the most veteran player on the team, and Jeff Green, but they're not leaders like that. Yeah.
I mean, I think you need a little more, as you say, defender. I say point guard. And I don't want it to be a young player. I want it to be a guy that's been there before. I want it to be a guy that might be able to be Grant Williams in a playoff game.
Coach, so just to be aware, he's coming off an ACL injury, but he's a free agent. And again, a lot of teams are going to be gunning for him. But would you be happy if they said, we're going to go ahead and get somebody like Ricky Rubio, who's going to cost you a bit of money, but you're very aware of who Ricky Rubio is. Would you feel like that kind of player would be really good, like next to Jamal Murray, that kind of point guard you're looking for?
I love Ricky Rubio. I think it'd be great. I love the kid in San Antonio. If San Antonio blows it up.
DeJounte Murray?
Yeah.
Hey! Yeah! I'm glad that you on the train, Coach. I love DeJounte Murray.
I mean, that guy has another gear.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think he's big and long and athletic. And I think he's damn good. And a lot of winning. He's showing me some winning this year.
Mm-hmm.
The kid,
Coach, wait, just so you know, he's on a 4-year, $64 million deal. So he is like super cheap and an all-star player who's a defender and a point guard. So I think that would be the get for the Nuggets.
And I don't know what San Antonio is going to do. I don't know what Pop's going to do.
Right.
But if they go in a rebuild thing, he might be a guy.
Right.
And there will be someone like Rubio. I don't know free agent, but Rubio is really good.
Right.
He knows how to run a team, and he's a veteran guy that now knows that, he might play 20 minutes one night, and then he might play 40 minutes the next night.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he'd have any problem with that. But everybody's in the bones a little bit, and
what's wrong with Bones Island?
I love Bones, but did you see how the young guys play when they play in the playoffs the first time?
Yeah.
They always come up a little short.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. Some guys play great.
Unless you're Luka or LeBron James. You're right, 1,000%.
Memphis has a lot of good players.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought they might be better than Golden State in a lot of ways. They have more skills, more physicality, more size. But the truth of the matter is they came up short.
Real short.
And young players in playoff situations, and there's a list of special guys like Bird, Magic, Luka. LeBron didn't get there early. Michael didn't get there early.
Took Kobe a while too.
So why are we trying to win a championship with that philosophy?
I think they didn't. No, you asking the right person. I don't know why they thought this in the first place if they thought this. So they thought that Jamal was going to come back. But when Monte was starting, they thought they could depend on Facundo Campazzo. But that goes back to my point. He's 5'9", 5'8", and he's not an offensive or defensive specialist. So what were you expecting? So I think Bones had to play. He was better than Facu in the regular season. But Bones also has a skill set that, and once again, I think it's just a year or 2 years too early for him. But next year, I think he's going to be ready if he was in a backup role. But here's the issue, though, Coach. Jamal's definitely going to be back. But then they're going to have Monte Morris and Bones Highland. They're going to be the backup point guards. So now you have a $9 million backup point guard who's one of the best. He's probably a fringe starter in the NBA, Monte is. And then you have Bones. So then you're going to have 3 playmaking guards, essentially. And then you're not going to have any 2 guards because it's going to be Will Barton and basically Austin Rivers. So I do think they're going to have to make a decision a year from now on if they're going to keep Bones or keep Monte. And then they're going to have to figure out what they're going to do about that 2 spot, because I just don't think you can go to a playoff situation and then have, again, 2 small guards and then have no elite perimeter players on the other side that can play defense. So that's honestly that's my biggest worry.
Well, every player you mentioned, Bones, Morris, Barton, Porter Jr., Austin Rivers, they're in my box to make a trade. Let's trade all those guys and get somebody really, really good.
So, Coach, let me ask you about this. So, because I think we agree on a lot of stuff, but I think we're probably going to disagree most about Michael Porter Jr. But here's why. Michael has shown from off the court stuff, even what I heard about his family, he wants to be great, Coach. He has everything in him that wants to be a great player. He hasn't said no to anything. His thing is just he's young. He hasn't played a lot, but he's on a max contract now, making around 170 mil, 158, 170
making too much.
But here's the thing.
He's got the AAU Christmas practice.
What? Coach, he was the second most efficient 19 points a game scorer in NBA history behind Wilt Chamberlain. He's one of the 3 best shooters in the NBA outside of Clay, outside of Steph.
I don't want his numbers. What position does he play?
He's a forward. He's a forward.
Is he a big forward or a small forward?
Personally, I think with the Nuggets, he's gonna play small forward because Aaron Gordon can have to play in that dunker spot.
Well, I don't know what he is. I hear he's a great kid. I hope he is. But he's still in my box to trade.
Well, the only thing is I don't think
because I want to go for the damn thing next year.
Agreed.
I don't want to play Bones and get Porter back to healthy. As much as you say that's going to make the team really good, I worry about too many shooters on the court.
Shooters?
I mean, scorers. Bones, Murray, Porter Jr. That's a lot of guys that like to shoot the ball.
Well, Bones is going to come off the bench, so I don't think he's going to get heavy time with Murray, Porter, and with Jokic. But I think the thing with Porter, he's such a low usage player. Like he's more of a Klay Thompson mode on this offense right now, meaning he doesn't have to touch the ball. And honestly, Coach, again, I know this is like crazy for people to hear. He's actually their best rim protector as well. So I know that's not like a great thing all the time, but he is. He's been their best rim protector. So like he's a weak side helper.
He's your worst rim. He's your best worst rim protector.
He's your best worst rim protector
because you can't call them rim protectors.
Well, I'm saying, but like he's better than Jokic.
Why do we have a rim protector on this roster?
Why don't they?
Yeah, well, this roster was screaming for a rim protector.
Well, I think Aaron Gordon ideally was supposed to be that player, but that's not his game. Yeah, that's not his game. But I think the backup 5 is going to have to be that. I don't know if you're actually going to trade for like a Jaren Jackson Jr. Like they're not going to be able to trade for Jaren Jackson to come in here and play for the Nuggets.
We had JaVale McGee. We didn't play him.
Well, Coach, Coach Michael Malone wasn't trying to play 5s like that. Look, I get it. Hartenstein on the team last year. JaVale McGee on the team last year. They didn't get any time.
Hartenstein played great for the Clippers this year.
Played great. Was very good. One of the best backup bigs. Great playmaker. But then think about it. They got Jeff Green and JaMychal Green both. So
the same guy. The same name guy, the same guy.
I know, Coach. I'm telling
same
you.
Guy. Why do you have to do the same guy?
I know. This is what I'm thinking. I think that there's a real possibility that Will Barton's gone. I think there's a real possibility that one of JaMychal Green or Jeff Green are gone because, again, Will Barton's going to make $15 million a year. JaMychal Green is essentially going to be making $7.5. They have access to 3 first-round picks. If I'm them, I'm loading up. I'm giving Bones away. I'm giving Barton away. I'm giving 3 first-round picks away. And I'm calling San Antonio like, look, give me DeJounte Murray. I'll throw in a car. I'll give you a car. I'll give you a Lexus, Bugatti, whatever you want. Give me DeJounte Murray.
I want you to know that the 2 Green guys, I like them both. But, there are a lot of those guys out there.
Right.
There are a lot of guys that'll give you 15, 20.
Right.
And feel happy playing next to Jokic.
Right. Well, look, Coach, we've been on this for 50 minutes. Trust me, we can go 2 hours. I can already tell. But I just want to say again, congratulations on being in the Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
Congratulations on all the success. I mean, it's incredible. I hope that we have you back on this channel eventually. I just wanted to give a personal thank you as somebody who was born and raised right down the street from Chauncey Billups. I grew up in Denver, Colorado. You presented some of my favorite memories as a kid, and you helped me understand basketball. The reason I love basketball is because of coaches like you and because of the way that you raised the team up with Chauncey Billups and J.R. Smith and Carmelo and the rest of them. So, I owe a personal thank you to you for that. So, this has been, a real, important thing to even do this interview with you. So, I really appreciate you, Coach. And again, congratulations.
Well, it was fun. Let's get together at the end of the playoffs. We'll talk again.
For sure. Hey, SwipaCam, hit that subscribe button. Like the video. Share the video. Hey, we're going to see y'all soon.